Hey everybody, it's Emily Ray, your course director. Just want to give you a little bit of positive, productive feedback on these portfolio sites that you guys recently submitted. Now, these are an evolution of what you created in Editing for the Web. You were to infuse it with elements of your personal brand that you've been working on, as well as an enhancement of some of the content that you're curating and showcasing here. So what I want to do is kind of poke around each of your sites and give you some ideas for next steps, or what would be the next place that you should consider taking this site to as you continue to massage it to like a really great place. So first up, we've got Steve's site, and his brand is Big Dog Studios. So we've got the logo like front and center here with a, kind of a busy patterned background, a bokeh effect of lights back there. As I start to scroll down, I'm looking at the information that's available to me. So I've got large branding and logo here, and then I guess a tagline per se. Massive results appear in a little icon that when I click it takes me back here to the home page. I've got a section here as far as navigational options further down the page that says My Works. As I hover, I was expecting this text to be the link as I hovered over it, but it's actually the image. It might work better for you if both of those were actually a link to those pages. Scrolling down again, contact information and a way to get in touch. One of the things I'll say here, Steve, is that your background image is distracting for the content and the information that you're sharing on top of it. If it's hard to read this information, it's not particularly usable in this format. I would either explore washing this image out a bit so that the text stands out more, or perhaps putting like an opaque background behind it, something that looks a little bit like this, so that that text is more easily read there. So I'm going to scroll up to explore these various links. So here we've got My Works, and I'm going to check this out. Now, one thing to notice when this happens is that all of your branding information goes away. Now, for that reason, I recommend that Big Dog Studios is what's listed up here in the header, as well as your navigational options, right? So before, the navigation was located in a different place, and now it's somewhere else, and the branding information has disappeared altogether. So that's something you want consistent up here in the top. It's kind of, it's a guidepost. It's a North Star, basically, for people who are navigating this site. They always know how to step from one place to the next if this information is located in a central static area. So here it looks like you're posting your work kind of in the form of blog posts, which is great for kind of chronicling what it is that you do and documenting your process. Again, I'm having a hard time with the text on top of the busy background. This is great because you have the opportunity to share it out. I'm going to go ahead and just like select one of these just to take a look at, get a general idea of what you're offering here. So some general pics and stuff. Here you'll find miscellaneous work, photos. Right, so you give me a few things here, and you've given me a little bit of background information, and this is something that I want you to ask yourself with every portfolio project that you choose to share here. Why am I sharing this? Who is it for? What is my intent of sharing this stuff? Does it showcase the skills that I want to showcase? Is this on brand? Your portfolio is not going to be a catch-all for everything that you've done, but really a place where you're going to cherry pick the types of projects and work that you want to use to showcase your skill set in a particular area, and to attract the kinds of works or projects that you are looking to get into. So I'll go ahead and go to Assorted Works, check this page out. So here, so miscellaneous images and works that don't fit into another category, right? Again, so this seems like the same content as what we saw above. Going to go back to the My Works page to take a look at Big Dog Graphics, various renderings of the Big Dog Studio graphics. All right, so I'm going to check this out here. And I see these different applications of this, but again, not the best visual display, right? Because I see kind of your iteration process on these, but in addition to that, I'd like to know what was your creative process, right? So I can see these, various, typefaces that you've chosen to explore, and kind of your decision to maybe go in this direction, and then maybe highlight it in another way. But what would be interesting here is the contextualization of these visuals. So in addition to sharing the visual work or the media work, what will be really important as well is this contextual information to help me understand what it is that you're sharing and why. How can you make this make sense for your visitor? I'm going to jump over to the bio to check out what you've got here. So kind of a fun stylized image. I see that you're from upstate New York, was just vacationing up there in that area, right around Niagara, as a matter of fact. You give us a nice, bit of background. It's streamlined. You've pulled out a few keywords here, which is nice, that we can link out to find more information. But again, having a hard time with the contrast of this text on top of that busy background. So that's definitely something that you'll want to look at. So here's something more in depth, a little bit more of your background and your bio here, just for a bit more of a cohesive look at what it is that you've been up to all these years. I like the way that you have broken this up into various paragraphs. It's not just one, and you've pulled out these keywords as well to attract attention to these areas, which I think is a good idea. Maybe some more visuals here would also be nice. This page does seem busy, but it only seems busy because of this background. What I can do for you. So here it's going to take me basically to a services page that, you've got some call to actions here about how to contact, and then you do copywriting, narration, and your voice talent and content designer. And looks like you're also a tech genius as well. There's a lot of things that you're offering here. I really would encourage you to think about what kind of client am I trying to attract, and then tailor this site with its content to be attractive to that particular type of client. You're likely going to evolve this idea as you continue through MCBS, and I'm always happy to look at future iterations of your site. All right, next up we got Raphael's site. So here, this is a definite evolution of what we saw last month. Your branding, the Zero Productions is, this graphic is a bit clearer than the one that we saw previously. We've got Home Project Skills Contact, where I can connect with you on social media. We've got a nice image here, and then kind of a quote or a personal mission statement. Here's a little video about you and your work. So we've got this information here, which talks about the kind of professional that you are, what kind of work you're looking to do. So my question here would be, why is this information kind of, squished into this short column? You can see that the word you is wrapping weirdly and for is wrapping weirdly here. There's a lot of available space within this window, wondering why you haven't taken your content out into a wider area here. Make more use of the available space on the page and balance this out better. We've got testimonials here, so just a little bit of some kudos from some of your coworkers or people who have had the opportunity to work with you. So that's always a nice addition and touch. Under projects, so here are a few things that you've been working on. I'm going to let that open up. So a link to your channel, which is going to show some videos. And if I hit watch now, like this will play the video, right? But what I want to show here is that pausing, I have no real title for this. Before I press play and engage or spend time watching, however long I'm going to watch it, I have no idea what it's about. For every portfolio project that you choose to showcase, it needs a title and a brief description of the piece, and then also what was your role in it. Were you the director of photography, the cinematography guy? Were you the camera operator? Were you the editor? Were you all these things? Were you the on-screen talent? When you're sharing something in your portfolio, those are the types of things that you need to make sure that you're highlighting in the write-up of each project. Over to skills. So here, just a brief listing of some of the applications that you are proficient in, and then some of your lynda.com certifications, right? So these are little thumbnails that basically show that you have received training in these areas. Again, I want to ask about why this text is so centered and squished right in the middle of the screen. I encourage you to open up that content area so that there's not strange wrapping of the words here. And then the other thing about lynda.com certificates is that they're great because lynda.com is an incredibly robust training library of tutorials on both hard and soft skills. Now, that being said, we all know that you can initiate a lynda.com training, press play, walk out of the room, and come back 10 hours later and have a certificate for SEO or whatever the case may be. What's more valuable than a lynda.com certificate is a demonstration of what you learned or how you are applying these skills. So remember that, as you continue to work on this portfolio, you say you have SEO skills. How can you show that? How can you, show a case study of maybe, some site that you worked on beforehand? What were the metrics versus what are the metrics after you've applied some of those concepts? Last but not least, we've got a contact page, simple ways to get in touch. All of this is really clean and nice. This is a wonderful foundation on which to build. Just a few tweaks here is going to get this into even a stronger place. So nice job with this, Raphael. Next up, we've got Stephania. So here, it's good to see that we have, some of your personal brand logo coming in. We've got an image and telling a little bit about what it is that you do. This information here looks kind of squished in this like available container, right? It goes really close up to the edge here. The text is wrapping in a strange fashion where art bumps down to this line, and then the picture is smaller. Wondering if there is a way that you can crop this picture in such a way that it it fills more of this available space, and then the text that you have borders that in a better way to fill that available content area, right? So maybe shrink it just a little bit so the word art doesn't wrap, and then this comes up a little bit, because you want to observe, proper inset padding here. So like none of your content should go outside of this square that I've drawn, because you want there to be space on the top, bottom, left, and right so that there are breathing room to those elements. Scrolling down, just a little bit of information about your particular service areas. So sports, fashion, arts. I love the color scheme, the consistency here. What's going on with this image and then this color scheme, but it's kind of it's a little conflicting with what I see here, right? So it might be something to think about. How can I alter this or choose imagery to be even more in support of this personal brand that I've been working on? A little bit of background on you. This is, you're very passionate about what it is that you do, and you're involved in so many great things. I love that you're highlighting these causes that you care about. This text looks pretty plain. I'd look for a way to kind of make it, draw some keywords out, similarly to the way that you did this up here. Don't make the whole thing like that, but just break it up a little bit and emphasize the areas that you want more attention drawn to. So we've got a big white space here. That might be something that you need to, look at the template and see what's going on there, because if I'm at basically at this point, it looks like a blank page, right? So you might need to go in there and toggle a few settings. We've got the contact information here, simple ways to get in touch, and other places we can connect with you online. So again, I'm digging the consistency of your color scheme within the site, but questioning how it relates to this color palette that you've got going on with the brand. So as I was scrolling, I saw that I was going through the home, the about me, and the contact me section. So now I'm going to jump to portfolio. And on this section, I'm going to explore deeper. So into sports, here, I see different really cool looking events. There's a lot of photography going on here and just what look like some really fun things. As I click on that image, I'm seeing, a larger application of it in this light box effect and scrolling through. But, all I know about this is that they're cool images. I need some information. Give me a title of the event, what it was, when it was, what you did for it, so I can understand why you're sharing this. Okay, under portfolio again, let's go ahead and check out another one. Let's go to art. So here, again, some like amazing photography, but I'm trying to click on these images and nothing is happening there. So that's a little bit of a disconnect, because in one area it functioned one way, and another area it functioned differently. I'm going to check out fashion. So here, same thing, light box effect. I'm clicking through, great pictures. They look fun. They look like big events, but I don't know what you did here. I don't know the significance of why you're sharing this on your site. I need that contextual information, title, description, your involvement. Resume. So here we have just your background information. This is great because there's a lot of keyword-rich content here. So you've done a nice job of making all of this, web ready, right? One thing I did want to note, so again, I like the purple, the deep purple, but I find it to be a little bit clashing with your overall brand. Under portfolio, something that popped up or maybe it was on the fashion page. Okay, so creative and branding. Now, I don't really know how to interpret this navigational option here, right? Like it just kind of pops out of nowhere, and I didn't expect it, and I'm not even sure what I can find. Okay, so it takes me over to your art page, and then branding takes me over to your sports page. So I don't know if that's just something you overlooked, but you might need to go back and check the target or the destination of those links. Overall, like you've got a lot of great stuff here. You're so involved. The challenge is really to curate the content for this. Cherry pick a few things that you really want to highlight your involvement in, and talk about what you did, why it was important, and why you're looking to get into more causes or projects like that. But overall, this is really great, Stephania. Here we've got Brandon's site. So he's a brand developer. Very clean, strong visual impact immediately. One thing I will say is that this yellow on green, there's definitely not enough color contrast there. I can barely kind of make out the words with that yellow text on top of the green. That's something that you're going to want to update because, I mean, the white looks, pretty, it pops a lot better. And then in fact, the black works even better than that. So that's something you'll want to toggle because you really want your navigation, especially to be able to be seen and clearly interpreted. Right, so here we have these gray icons over here are places that I can connect with you online. You've got an image here, which is somewhat interesting. It's as if you're holding the camera up over your head and taking a selfie. Your eyes aren't even directly looking into the camera itself. So, curious about your choice on this one. The placement of this, where your picture shows up in the background, it looks as if, it's almost as if Francis is like mimicking your mustache there. I don't know if that was your intent, but that was something that I noticed first up. I'm going to scroll down here. And a little bit of about information. Again, like this yellow is really hard on the green. I like that you've included a background image here and a very short blurb, which is great. One thing to say though is that all caps should not be used for paragraph text because when we're reading, you capitalize the first letter of a sentence and then as you're reading, that's a visual indication of the flow and when you're pausing and starting the new sentence. All caps is great for titles or subheadings, things like that, but in paragraph text, you definitely want to go with sentence case structure. I'm going to jump here to your resume, and so here it's taking me to a different page. A little bit of information about you, your work experience, where you've, this is, good keyword-rich information, but one thing to note is the difference, both of the color. So this is more of a, like a Tiffany blue here instead of the seafoam, so that's a little bit off-brand, but then also the different fonts, right? So this is a serif font, and this is a slightly smaller sans serif font. So there are some style inconsistencies here. Additionally, scrolling up, what did I see? There was something that popped out, right? So like the spacing of this page, it looks a little, looks a little tight. I would, especially like in this area here between the title of where you worked and the dates, I would look for ways to make sure there's at least this much space between each of your text elements there. So before I was on the about and I jumped over to the resume, I'm going to scroll here, and so this takes me to your work section. And so like this is kind of an interesting, it looks like when I hover over work, I get an empty menu. When I scroll down, it says projects. It's as if it illuminates. That's something that you definitely need to toggle there because, also that it's inconsistent with what we're seeing in this section, right? So here I have photography projects and social media, but in this menu, I only have projects. So look for ways to make that more consistent in terms of your structure. Here I've got photography. It loads in a whole bunch of images, like kind of in the stack, which is kind of a cool effect, but it doesn't really let me see any one particular version of these in kind of like full view, right? I'm wondering I click on one and it brings it to the top, which is kind of cool, right? But they're still in thumbnail size, meaning that like I'd like to get a bigger view of these, and that's not really possible. Additionally, can I get some contextual information, a title, a description, or even have these organized into street photography or portraiture or documentary, giving me an idea of the types that you like of work that you like to do there. I'm going to jump next to projects. So here I have a collection of different things. So these all look pretty cool. As I click on it, I do see that, so here I've got a picture of a picture of the JCC here, and you said that you handled web design and photography using a CMS. That's cool. So what I should see here is a screenshot of the site and then a link that is going to take me there, right? So this picture doesn't make so much sense as maybe like a mock-up of how that website looks on a giant cinema display. Here I have kind of a cool logo design that you did, and what I'm appreciating about this is that you give me the title and then the description of what I'm looking at, so I can understand the projects and what it is that you did with them. Like, so this one I was curious, street photography, street shot made for a Canva template. So like, I'm enjoying knowing what you use these for, why you designed them, or why you created them. I would ask, you're sharing some photography here, some logo design. Does it make sense for you to, not just put these under projects, but maybe web design or social media, something like that? You can think about that. Under work, so again, back to this area, I'm going to tag social media and see. So this looks like it's just interestingly, it's the social media for this brand that you were working on. I'm not sure that I understand the link to that. So, that's a big disconnect or a question mark, something I want you to think about. How does that fit onto your own portfolio, and how can you explain that? So here we have a gallery, which are just, some cool black and white pictures. I'm going to click on one to see what happens. So it looks like maybe this is pulling in like an Instagram feed or something because of all the hashtags. And they're cool pictures, and they're definitely along the same consistent vibe. I would just explain this more, right? Like, so it's a gallery, but a gallery of what? For what purpose? And how does this serve on your portfolio website? We've already checked out the resume, representation, right? So I don't necessarily know that that is intuitive for Get in Touch. And now, so another thing that we're looking at is how this green text is hard on the yellow, the same way that the yellow is hard on the green. The white looks great on both of these. The black looks great on both of these, but this is really tough on the eyes, and an area that I think you should spend some time just toggling and making a bit more contrast with those elements. So here we've got the contact and just simple ways that we can get in touch. This is a great, there's so much good stuff here, Brandon, but there are a few considerations that I'd like you to think about in terms of the intent or the strategy of what it is that you're sharing with your the audience for your portfolio. And then last but not least, it looks like we got Matthew's site here. So we've got Matty Maximus, I guess is the brand. And I think that what I remember about this is that you're a gamer, and part of this is, something that you are, pushing forward with that. One thing I'll say is that there's a bit of repetition here, right? So we've got this in the header, up here nice, and then we've got it again, Matt Day's portfolio down here is kind of like a banner image. It's enough that it's up here. I might make more use of this available space, right? So all this area that you have up here for sure, and then add some different imagery in here, right? Because you've got duplicate content here, and this is your high value real estate area, which means that this is really the only area that you can guarantee that someone will see your site if they go to your URL. So you want to make the most of it and have different kinds of diverse and engaging content there. All right, we've got a little bit of a mission statement, some of my videos, what I've been up to. So here, as this information is kind of loading in, I see some of your videos, and I get a title, and not much other information about this, right? So why are you sharing these videos? Are you the game player? Are you the editor? Or is this original content that you've developed? You're sharing this on your portfolio, but I have no information about how to make sense of this if I don't know you at all, right? And additionally, the more description that you can add there, that's the more keyword-rich content that you have, which will allow your site to be more easily found. And then I just have like this kind of random, I play all kinds of games and love genres. Well, that's great. And I think that I should know that about you somewhere more up here, right? Because if this gaming is a big part of your digital media identity, that's something that you should promote, first and foremost, right? So that I can understand, what I'm seeing here. So here I've got some of the comments on your YouTube videos. I like that you have these testimonials, right? It's cool that you've included them in a visually interesting way with these quotes. Who am I? Letting you know. This is all of your background information. I'd like to see just like this is pretty dense paragraph text, right? Like this is a lot, but I like the way you've broken it up into these sections for sure. What is maybe like a tweet summary, like 144 characters that you can summarize this and add it up at the top so that I'm not having to jump all the way down here to the bottom to find out who you are and how to understand this site. So here you're busy working on blog posts, so I guess that this is where you're going to chronicle those things when you get them. These are areas that I can connect with you elsewhere online and how I can contact you with, which is great. And I'm going to go up here and just click on these other links. So here's a place for your blog, but no content yet. Your graphic works. So here are some of the things that you've designed. I like that you talk about your headers, your overlays, logos are coordinated and that type of thing. I'm going to click on one. And as I do that, I don't even really get to see a bigger version of it here in the Lightbox. I'd like to be able to do that with this graphic or design artwork. And so here it looks like we've got your, your business card, but there's no title, there's no, description of what I'm seeing. I mean, I know that this is a business card, just because. Or a calling card because, of our work together in the past, but how can you explain this for someone who may not know and just give them the information to understand what they're looking at. Here's some photography. Anytime you have paragraph text, you want to make sure that that's left aligned, not center aligned. Center is fine for titles and subtitles and headings, but paragraph text should always be left aligned for readability purposes. So I take a lot of interest in photography. This is one of your favorite pictures, which is cool. I would like, you say photography, but we've got one picture, right? So this is kind of just a featured image at this point. Definitely need more content here, kind of to match the, discussion of what, you say your interest is. Under experience, so here, just very much, short and sweet and talking about, your background a little bit, and these are programs that you have experience in. So just a kind of a short blurb. I don't know that this requires its own separate page. It's not like you share a ton of information here. This might be able to be incorporated in a meaningful way on your home page or kind of in your bio perhaps. And then contact, just a simple way to get in touch and potentially about some of the projects that you would be interested in hearing about or working on. So this is a strong place to build on. A few tweaks here and this could make a bit more sense, but again, give me the context to understand the content that you're sharing and why you're even creating a portfolio or have this space online. If it's just to kind of showcase your online identity, then take it more in that direction. And as always, I'm happy to look at any future iterations of your site. So let me know how I can continue to support you guys with developing out these portfolios.